Hi, everybody. This is Dave Jones with StormCenter Communications and GeoCollaborate. It is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. This is an update for the All Hazards Consortium, the sensitive information sharing environment where we share information across platforms and from private sector liaisons at state emergency operations centers to private sector organizations in the communications, energy, food, fuel, logistics, medical supply sectors, so we can all be on the same page at the same time, looking at the same data. Well, I'm going to start with a little satellite imagery, and I want to show you a couple of cool things regarding the Great Lakes and the lake effect snows that they're having. Why one lake is seems to be clear and the other one is a lot more ice covered as well. But the GOES satellite imagery, you can see what's going on. This is an area of low pressure in the mid part of the country, Texas and Oklahoma. It's going to be making a pathway up into the Ohio Valley. That's going to keep the East Coast on the warm sector of anything. So unfortunately, no more snow for a while. It looks like we're going to be in some of the mild temperatures for the next several days, maybe a couple of weeks or so, with a short bout of cool weather. But everybody's enjoying it because we've had that cold weather to deal with for so long on the East Coast, and certainly that record-breaking, historic snowstorm along the Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina coastlines. A lot of snow there. But you can see this update is a little bit later than I normally do it, but had a busy day today. And so you can see the sunset is really coming through the middle part of the country now. I can move over here a little bit. Well, let's take this full screen and I'll show you what it looks like. This is pretty cool. You can see the limb of the earth way over here out over the Pacific, and then also in the middle part of the country. This is the only real weather maker we're going to see. You can see the upper level low that's spinning over the Four Corners area here. And that's kicking out low pressure that's going to give the Northeast some rain. And it could be some significant rain, an inch, inch and a half, perhaps 2 inches in some areas where it has been lacking for a very long time. You can see up here in Maine, whereas the night lights start to show through the clouds, we do have lake effect snow happening in Syracuse and New York, and also some rain showers that are happening in parts of Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania. As a matter of fact, I can show a little bit of activity going on here along the west coast too, and that is some marine layer. Marine layer is setting in. Look at this over on the west coast. This is low-level marine type clouds. You can see it. See the clouds evaporating. They're the low level, almost like fog, some drizzle in certain areas. There was a hefty amount of rainfall, about an inch or so in Southern California over the last couple of days. That helped to alleviate the wildfire danger, but it also accelerated any mudslows and debris flows. So there's been some flooding down there in Southern California where the wildfire burn scars are. But we do have the chance of another atmospheric river that will be impacting from the Northern California coastline down to about San Francisco, and also inland towards parts of, let's say, the Sierra Nevada into Tahoe. I'll show you that on the forecast models as well. But what I wanted to do is take you over here to the Great Lakes because I want to show you something neat. I'll go back over to the GOES East satellite, and you can see here that there is quite a bit of cloudiness on the lee side of the lakes. It doesn't look like as much cloudiness coming off for lake effect snows off of Lake Erie, but there are quite a bit of lake effect snows coming off of Lake Ontario. And there is a reason for that. I want to show you something that's pretty cool, and that is the, I'm going to go over to GeoCollaborate here and show you what it looks like. So here is the Great Lakes. This is Lake Erie right here. Here's Lake Michigan, of course, the big one. Lake Huron here, and this is Lake Ontario. Now look, there's not a whole lot of lake effect snow. There's some up here in the northern part of Lake Erie, coming into extreme northwestern Pennsylvania. Down towards Pittsburgh, it's actually a mixture of rain and snow. It's 40 degrees, 40 degrees up in Pittsburgh right now. and they're getting a mixture of rain and maybe some wet snowflakes. But as you travel further towards the north, there is some travel issues here. I have both the National Weather Service weather radar turned on, which updates about every 10 minutes, and also the Winter Storm Severity Index. So if I turn off the radar data, and you can see these lake effect snows kicking up some really intense snow squalls, as a matter of fact, have been moving through parts of New York and even eastern New York State around Albany too. Some pretty intense snow squalls, and also up in northern Pennsylvania. But I'm going to turn off the radar data, and I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath for the Winter Storm Severity Index. And you can see that right here. So these are sort of inconvenient snow showers that will be on and off, coating the roads, creating some hazards. Just a lot of caution is really asked by motorists to exercise when you're driving through these areas. But there are pockets of more hazardous type of snow impacts. And I want to show you the legend up here to show you the minor impacts here are in the yellow, and that means use caution when driving. You want to definitely use caution because those roads could become slick very quickly, and it's going to remain cold up in Maine and the New England for the next several days. There's also some potential for lake effect snows that are happening up towards other parts of the Great Lakes as well, UP of Michigan and the upper parts of Minnesota too, where there's some cold and snowy conditions at times. If I move over here towards Colorado, I want to show you that there are some other, because of that storm system that I showed you that's kicking up around the Four Corners, that is a upper level low, and it has colder air associated with it. So you can see in Arizona here, higher elevations, and also in the northern parts around Santa Fe and New Mexico up into Colorado. There are some heavier snow showers that are going to be falling. Some areas 6 to 12 inches of snow in the higher elevations. And then up towards Montana and Wyoming, we do have some pockets in the higher elevations of some tricky driving, hazardous driving in some areas. And then up in northern Idaho, up towards the Canadian border, north of Spokane, also some snow showers there. Heavier snows along the Cascades and up into Washington, up around Mount Rainier. Looks like we'll have some significant driving hazards. Snoqualmie Pass as you're heading east from Seattle, maybe going skiing, enjoying the snow out there. Also Mount Washington and also Mount Hood in parts of Oregon. That is going to be higher elevation snow. This is Mount Hood right here, where it's going to be tricky all the way down to Mount Baker and down towards the Sisters down there in parts of southern Oregon, around Bend. So it looks like there's quite a bit of moisture that is heading in to the higher elevations. Doesn't look like any problem out towards the coastline, but we do have some colder air coming in. So there could be, by the weekend, some snows moving into Seattle. Now, one of the areas that I want to talk about here is the Northern California area, and that is because we're going to see over the next 1 to 3 days a lot of moisture moving in here. This is Wednesday, so Friday, Saturday, into Sunday, looks like we have an atmospheric river coming in, so there could be some major impacts in Northern California and along the Sierra Nevada. Let me back out here just a little bit, and you can see this is the Winter Storm Severity Index in the Sierras, which will be causing some travel headaches. If you're there and you live locally, check your local traffic conditions and also whether some passes are open or closed because of some of that precipitation that's going to be happening. Now, I want to go right back over here because I want to show you something cool that I did this afternoon. I was looking at some NASA data, and I'm going to zoom in here on GeoCollaborate to show you Lake Erie and Lake Huron because I looked at some NASA MODIS imagery, and I cut two pieces. I subsetted two pieces of satellite data and brought them into GeoCollaborate. And I'm going to switch over here to those two pieces here. I'm going to take off the legend for the Winter Storm Severity Index, But look at this. So this is really cool. This was taken yesterday, both of these images, over Lake Erie. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Look at this. This is ice on the lake. So a good part, probably about 80% of Lake Erie is covered in ice. Well, what does that do? Why do we care about that? Well, it takes away the ability for water to evaporate up into and make clouds and lake effect snow. So the more frozen the lakes become, the less lake effect snow we have. When the lakes are not frozen, that's when we have big lake effect snow chances, when cold air moves over the lakes, picks up that warm water and dumps it in the form of snow showers. In this satellite image, this is snow on the ground here. This is ice around the lakes, and it moves. It moves with the wind. As the wind changes direction, the ice moves back and forth within the lakes. Now, let's go up to Lake Huron. Look at this. Look at the difference in the snow, in the ice coverage. This is some ice right here. We can get in a little bit closer. Look at that. See, that's ice off the coast there. There's Oakville. Here's Toronto. There's a little bit of ice, but look at how much is ice-free. There might be, this is probably some cloud here, but then over here towards the eastern part of Lake Ontario, not much ice at all. Here's a little bit. That's a little bit of ice in Lake Ontario, but certainly a vast difference in the level of freezing of Lake Ontario and also Lake Erie. Let me back out here, and I want to show you a satellite image from today of the whole area here of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, and we'll go over to that here. This is taken from the NASA MODIS. It's called corrected reflectance. It's a true color image. So this is kind of what it would look like if you were up in a satellite or up in the space station. However, you wouldn't see the state boundaries. These are just political boundaries. But you would see the darkness of the lakes. And look at this, the wind blowing over Lake Ontario, picking up, making clouds, and then dumping a lot of snow right in here. Rochester getting hit by some heavy snow today as well. And that is the lake effect machine. Look at this. We still see some streaks of snow coming across here, but Lake Erie is 80% frozen. So that has cut some of that moisture source, so we don't see as many lake effect snows moving into Pennsylvania and New York. We do have some today, and they've been kind of intense. But whenever you can whenever you have an ice-covered lake, that shuts off the lake effect snow machine. And that's something that we like to monitor a lot. So let's go to the forecast so I can get through this pretty quickly. I want to go to the GFS model and show you what it looks like. Here we are in the U.S. and haven't widened out. This is that area of low pressure. This is an upper level of low pressure right here. And that is going to move to the east. Let me put this into motion and show you how that's going to progress over the course of the next couple of days. We do have a severe weather potential out here, and that looks like it's going to be Thursday into Thursday night here in the Mississippi Valley. So pay attention to any local forecasters, the National Weather Service, your favorite local broadcast meteorologist, if you're living in the Mississippi Valley, because we could have a severe weather outbreak there over the next couple of days. And then that progresses on Friday to the east. And look at this. There's a little bit of ice that might pop up in northeastern Pennsylvania. That is during the afternoon Friday, as some cold air remains at the surface. Cold air likes to be entrenched at the surface. It's cold. It's like molasses. It's dense. It's heavy. It likes to stay there, especially if there's snow cover that's reinforcing that cold air. That could make that lower level of the atmosphere at freezing or below freezing and create freezing rain. That's why this model is picking up on this. It's the GFS model. And the low moves up towards Chicago, and we'll continue this. You can see quite a bit of rain throughout central Pennsylvania, down through Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, down towards the Appalachians and into North Carolina. Some areas could see an inch to inch and a half of rain, so we'll be watching that very closely. Then that moves out. We're talking about early Saturday morning. It moves out. The winds pick up, but you can see some snow throughout Maine. Doesn't look like a major snow, but it could be 2 to 6 inches in some locations over the weekend there. And then high pressure takes in. Look at this. So it looks like a beautiful latter part of the weekend on the East Coast. We have some light snows moving in through the upper Midwest up towards the Canadian border there. And then this here is what I want to talk about next. This is the atmospheric river that is forecast to impact California. And I want to get a little bit closer there as well on the atmospheric river. So let's go ahead and switch over to that here full screen. So here is the levels of atmospheric river are blue for AR1, green for AR2, yellow for AR3, orange for AR4, and red for AR5. The AR4 and 5 are ones that I really get concerned about sometimes because they are impactful. They drop a lot of rain, perhaps over a short period of time, and this is what we're watching here. So this is the forecast over the next 7 days. So the center line is today. This is the past 7 days. This is the next 7 days. And you can see the models are sort of converging on a potential AR4, which is a highly disruptive atmospheric river where it comes ashore. And where is that? This is the dot, which is up in Northern California along the coastline that I'm looking at right now. This is the atmospheric river that I've been looking at, and it looks like it's going to start on the 31st. So that's Friday, and go into Saturday and part of Sunday as well. And you can see as I go down the coast, see the dot here move down the coast? It looks like an AR4, which is a fairly significant atmospheric river, will impact even the San Francisco area starting on the 31st around 7 o'clock in the morning and extending through the 2nd, almost to the 3rd. So a longer duration atmospheric river, which could have a high impact here. Soils are saturated. There's been a lot of rain, and that also means up in the Sierra Nevadas, that means we could have quite a bit of snow. That's why when I showed you the Winter Storm Severity Index, you're seeing initially hazardous driving conditions are expected. But we're going to be monitoring this. So those of you that live on the west coast of California, San Francisco, and north, there is a AR4 that is forecast Friday, Saturday, into Sunday. Extreme Northern California, see this area? Extreme Northern California does not look like you'll get that atmospheric river. It'll be concentrated just toward to the south and the sort of north central part of California over to the Sierra Nevada. So we want to keep you updated on that. That's for those of you who have to transport in the All Hazards Consortium, stakeholders transport goods and services into the Sierra Nevada over the weekend. Could be a very tough go at that. Well, it's combating misinformation time again, and some people seem to be confused as to what makes sea level rise. So we've asked Dr. Ellen, StormCenter's chief scientist, to come back and help us out a little bit here. So Ellen, welcome back. And I just have to ask you, what makes sea level rise?
Thanks, Dave. Well, as our climate warms, sea level rises because there's the thermal expansion of seawater. As it gets hotter, its volume expands. And also because of the melting of ice, but not all ice. And that's where the confusion comes in.
So it's really a difference between floating ice versus ice that's on the land?
Exactly. Let's take the example of an ice cube floating in a glass of water. When it melts, the water doesn't overflow the glass because it's already taking up volume in the glass. But if ice is land-based, like it's outside the glass, and it enters the water in the glass either as frozen or as a liquid. More volume is added and the glass overflows. Same thing is happening in the ocean. If the ice is already floating as an iceberg, an ice shelf, or sea ice, and it melts, sea level doesn't rise. But if the meltwater flows off the land and into the ocean, that's what causes sea level to rise. And it's exactly what's happening in Greenland and in Antarctica today. Land-based ice is melting, flowing into the ocean, and causing sea level to rise.
Okay, I got it. And they were great visuals. That ice cube dropping into the cup is really quite telling, because there was an ice cube in the other cup, but it was already in there. And as that ice melts, the level of the water didn't change at all in the cup. But the one on the right, when you put a new piece of ice in there representing land ice, then it overflows, and that's what displaces more water.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ellen, thanks so much. As always, you've helped to quell some misinformation out there, and hopefully this was very helpful to the viewers. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks so much for watching this update. I'm Dave Jones with StormCenter Communications and GeoCollaborate. I'm glad you've been watching. Please send in any questions that you might have. We'll answer those questions. We'll bring in Dr. Prager whenever we need to. She's really good at all that stuff. So next update will be tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. Please watch out for yourself, and please watch out for your neighbors. They do appreciate it.